Welcome back everyone to the spreadsheet portion of the SBA. We are going to continue where we left off from our last recording, and we are going to start off with task 2. Now task 2 assumes that you already have your elections data worksheet completed. Now it says you're to duplicate the elections data worksheet. Rename the duplicate as elections data backup. So in order to duplicate your elections data worksheet, we're going to place our mouse over this button here, and we're going to click the button. Now when you click the button, it will highlight the entire spreadsheet. You're going to right click, then you're going to copy. You're going to go to the next available sheet, click on it, click the same button again, right click and paste. That will give you a second copy of what is on your elections data sheet. So if you look at both of them, you'll realize that both of them have the same information. The next thing we're told to do is to rename the duplicate as elections data backup. And we're going to just double click on sheet 3 and type elections data backup and press enter, and that's it. Then we're going to go to the first instruction. It says insert a column before the one which displays the name of the political party, that's between columns F and G, using an appropriate column title. Determine the votes received by each candidate in a given constituency. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and we're going to insert that column. We're going to click on column G, highlight the entire column. We're going to right click and say insert, and then we're going to give the column a heading, and we're going to type votes received. Okay, let's look back at the instructions. It says the candidate's rating represents the percentage of votes received by a candidate in a given constituency. For example, given that 6,400 votes were cast and a candidate has a rating of 20, the votes received by the candidate would be 20 divided by 100 times 6,400. So in looking at an example, we go back to the spreadsheet, we click in this first cell for votes received, type the equal sign, then we're going to open brackets, and then we're going to select the votes received for the candidate rating for the first person. We're going to divide it by 100. We're going to close the bracket, then multiply it by the number of the votes that were cast in the constituency that is here. Click on that and press enter. Then all we're going to do, we're going to simply autofill. So you're going to click in the fill handle and drag it down. Of course, you will notice that we have decimal values. We can't have point anything of a voter, so we are going to do what we did last night. We are going to decrease decimal until the decimal places go away. And there we have it, votes received. We're now going to turn our attention to number 2. Of course, above it says format the votes received by each candidate to 0 decimal places. We have already done that, so we are going to move on. Number 2 says sort the data first on party in ascending order, and secondly on votes received in descending order. Now, whenever we are going to sort any sort of data or any set of data, you will need to highlight the entire set. Once you have highlighted the entire set, then you're going to go to the Data tab. Then you're going to click on Advanced. Sorry, not Advanced. You're going to go to the Data tab and click on Sort. Now you are asked to sort it on 2 values. First, on party. So we're going to, in the sort by section, we're going to drop down the box and we're going to select party name. Then we're told to do a second sort based on votes received in descending order. Now, if you notice, it said ascending order for party, and we already have A to Z, which is already in ascending order, but we don't yet have votes received. Now, we don't have another row, so we have to click on the add level button to get the second row, and then we're going to go ahead and select votes received, and then now we are told we're supposed to have it in descending order, which would be from largest to smallest. So we're going to change the selection here from smallest to largest, and we're going to select largest to smallest, and then we're going to click OK. So you're going to notice that because it was sorted based on party, all the DAP are in one section, and then by votes received from largest to smallest. So the person in DAP who has the highest number of votes received is at the top, and the one with the lowest is at the bottom, and so on and so forth for the other parties. Let's go back to the instructions. Now it says the Trin Bar Jam Elections Commission needs to determine the following: whether or not a refund is due to a candidate. Use an appropriately labeled column to state refund due or no refund for each candidate. A refund is due if the candidate's votes received equals or exceeds 20% of the votes cast in a constituency. Now, if you look above in the table, you'll see the formula. Quite simple, and we're going to replicate this formula in the appropriate column. So the first thing we're going to do is create the column, and we're going to call the column refund status. Then we're going to put in the function. We are going to be using an if function to achieve this calculation. So we say equal if, open bracket. Now the if function takes three arguments: the logical test, value if true, and value if false. Now we were told that the logical test is that the votes received must be greater than or equal to 20% of the votes cast. So we're going to type in that section. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to click on the votes received. Then we're going to say greater than or equal to, and then we're going to do the 20% calculation. So we're going to open a different bracket, type 0.2 for the 20%, put in the asterisk for the multiplication symbol, and then now we're going to click on the votes cast cell. We always use cell references where it is possible. We're going to close that bracket, and that represents the condition or the logical test. We're going to put in the comma, and then we're going to put in the value if true. Now we're saying if the votes received is greater than or equal to 20% of the votes cast, then that person is going to get a refund. So we type refund due, and we're going to close the quotation mark. Then we're going to put in the comma, and we're going to put the value if the logical test ends up being false, and in this case it's going to say no refund. And we of course enclose this no refund in double quotation marks. And the last thing we do is to close the bracket. I have redone, so that should be refund. Close the bracket, and then we're going to press enter, and that should give us the answer. Now let us look at what we have here. First one says refund due. We're going to go ahead and autofill it, and you will notice that a few of them have no refund in the column. I'm going to go ahead, highlight the column, and we're going to put borders around it by going back to the home tab, selecting the borders icon, and we're going to select all borders to ensure that it looks just like the rest of it, and we have it like this. Now we're going to go back to the instructions. It says a list of all candidates who should receive a refund. Extract the data to the bottom of the worksheet. So what we're going to be doing now, in order to take out only the candidates who should receive a refund, we are going to be using a filter, and we are told to extract the data at the bottom of the worksheet. So we're not going to filter it on a separate sheet. We're going to go to the bottom of that worksheet. Now when you're doing a filter, the first step you will do is to copy the headings from this data set that you're going to be using. So highlight and copy. Go down to the bottom of the worksheet. We're not going to go too far, just a few rows below. We're going to click in the first cell, in the first column, and right click and paste. Now that we have the headings, we need to set our criteria. We are told we only need to pull out those persons who have or who are getting a refund. So we need to look in the refund column, refund status column, to see what would constitute a refund. Now that person who's getting a refund must have a refund due in or beside their name under refund status. So we're going to go under refund status, and we're going to type it back exactly as we have it here. Refund due. If you don't type it back exactly, you're not going to get the correct answers. So we have our headings, we have our criteria, we are now ready to start. So what we do, we highlight the entire data set at the top, then we go to data, and then advanced. So now this is a list range. That which we highlighted earlier is called our list range. Now we're going to go to our criteria range. So we click in the criteria range box, and then we're going to highlight the headings along with the criteria in those first two rows. Then because we want to copy the values below the headings, we're going to click on, or we're going to select the option button that says copy to another location, and then the copy to box becomes available. We click in the copy to box, then we position our cursor about 2 or so rows below the criteria. I'm going to start in cell 45, click in cell 45, and then I'm going to click OK. And what is going to happen is that the filter is going to pull out those persons who got a refund. And how do you know it has worked? Simply look in the refund status column, and all of the entries should say refund due. Now the next step says we are to create a table with summary data for the elections. In order for us to do this, we are going to go to a separate sheet. We're going to go to a separate sheet, and we're going to create a new sheet, and we're going to call that sheet summary. So we're going to double click on the sheet and type SUMMARY summary, and then we're going to replicate or recreate this table right here on this summary sheet. So we're going to go ahead again and start in row 9, and we're going to type elections data. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the table while you are waiting, and we're going to come back with the finished table. We're going to go ahead now that we have created the table. We're going to put in the different party names, and our party names are PDR, DAP, UPM, and WNA. We're also going to put in the constituencies. Now CSEC gives you marks for references or linkages in your spreadsheet. So instead of typing the constituency names, we're going to reuse the ones that were on the key sheet. So what I'm going to do, we're going to quickly click in cell A17 here, press the equal sign. We're going to go down, find the key sheet, click on it, click on North, press enter, and then we're going to autofill, and all of the other constituencies should appear. We're going to do something similar for the number of voters, but we're not going to autofill. We're going to click beside North, press equal, go back to the elections data sheet, look for North, look for the number of voters. You can select any one of them because all of them are the same. Click on it, press enter, and we're going to do the same thing for all the other constituencies. Now that we have put in the number of voters, we're going to go ahead and put in the votes cast as well. And we're going to continue doing this until we are finished. Now, in order for us to calculate the abstentions, given that we have the number of voters and the votes cast, it's a simple calculation. We click on the equal sign, click on the number of voters minus the votes cast, press enter, and then we autofill. Okay, and we have one here that has a decimal place, so we're going to decrease decimal until it becomes 0 decimal places. Alright, so we're going to go ahead now, and we're going to complete the total votes received for the different parties. In order for us to do this, we're going to be using the sum function, and we're going to be using also the elections data backup sheet. So I'm going to do one for you, which is PDR, and then complete the rest and come back. Click in the cell beside PDR under total votes received, press the equal sign, then we're going to go to the elections data backup sheet, and we're going to find the total votes column, total votes received column for PDR. So we're going to scroll up, and then you're going to notice that you have this is the total votes received column, and then we have PDR here. We're going to go back to the summary table a little bit. I had forgotten to put in the sum function, so we're going to say equal sum, double click on the sum function, then go back to the elections data backup sheet, look for PDR, look for the votes received, and highlight the entire set of data for PDR. You should have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once you have done highlighted it on the elections data backup sheet, you are not going to leave. You are going to close the bracket, then press enter, and that should give you the total votes received. I'm going to go ahead and do it for DAP, UPM, and WNA, and we'll return with all the values. Now that we have our total votes received for each party, we're going to do the total votes cast. A quick and easy way to do that, we could simply click on the auto sum function button here. You could also put in equal sum, highlight the range, and press enter, because we have done that so many times. So we're just going to click on the auto sum. It puts in the same function, press enter. There we have the total. Now the next thing we're going to be looking at is the percentage of votes cast. Now, in order for us to calculate the percentage of votes cast, we have to do a few things before. We're going to go to the elections data backup sheet, and we're going to find the total of all the votes cast. Simply do this by clicking on the sum function, and it will do the total automatically. If you have a decimal value, just decrease the decimal until you have no decimal places. So once you have now found the total of all the votes cast, we now go back to the summary sheet, and we're going to put in equal, and then we're going to type sum. Now the idea of using sum is that we're going to sum the votes cast for PDR first, and then we're going to put that total over the overall total of votes cast. So let's go. Equal sum, open bracket. We're going to go back to the elections data backup sheet, look for PDR, and look to see where its votes cast start, which is in this cell here. Click on that cell and drag down until you reach the last cell for PDR. Then you're going to close the bracket, divide, put in the forward slash for the division symbol, then scroll down, click on the total that is at the bottom, and then you're going to press enter. I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to do the others and then come back. So equal sign, sum. We're going to sum all the votes cast for DAP. Back to the elections data backup sheet, look for DAP, highlight all of the votes cast for DAP, close the bracket, put in your forward slash, click on the overall total, press enter. I'm going to do the rest and return. Now that we have completed all the percentage of votes cast, we were asked, I believe, to format the percentage of votes cast to one decimal place with the percent symbol. So we're going to highlight the 4 values. We're going to click on the percent symbol, and we're going to increase decimal. We're going to increase decimal by 1, so that should be now 25.0%. The next thing we're asked to do is to count the number of candidates who received more than 2,000 votes. Now we're going to be using the count if function for that, but before we do so, we're going to put a label to label this value. So we're going to put votes greater than 2,000. I'm going to put additional candidates or number of candidates. Of course, you could choose to use a different label. I'm just going to use this label for the time being, and then I'm going to wrap this text because I don't want it to stretch out. And in this cell, I'm going to click in this cell and type equal count if. Then I'm going to select the range of cells that has or have the candidates' votes received. We're going to go back to the elections data backup sheet and highlight all the cells that have the votes received for each candidate. Then I'm going to press the comma before I move In fact, I'm not going to move. I'm just going to put in the comma, and then in quotation marks I'm going to put greater than 2000, because that is a format of the counting function. We're going to close the bracket. This greater than 2000 is representing the criteria that we have here. It says to count the number of candidates who received more than 2000 votes. Once you press enter, in this case we have 9. I'm going to put a border around that. I'm going to bold this label, and I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do some formatting. It says center the data in the worksheet. So we're going to highlight everything here, and we're going to click on the center icon. And it says merge and center the cells in the row with the label elections data. So we're going to highlight these cells right here, highlight the cells. Then we're going to go up to the alignment section, drop down, select merge and center if your merge and center is not showing. We're going to also bold those headings. You do get marks for formatting your spreadsheet, and you're going to save the file.